Do you ever feel like your stress levels are on autopilot? Like you can never fully relax? If that's the case, you might be stuck in the lawyer stress cycle. Welcome to the Lawyer Burnout Solution, the podcast for female attorneys who want to stay in the careers that they've worked so hard to build without running themselves into the ground. I'm Heather Mills, and every week I'll share the tools, strategies, and mindset shifts you need to reclaim your energy, confidence, and career. So I was talking to my client Jess the other day, and she was telling me that no matter what's happening at work, she always feels on edge. For even the smallest challenges at work stress her out. So she wondered if she's just being paranoid or if this is normal for other lawyers. I assured her that this was completely normal. When you're living with chronic stress, even the smallest details can feel like make or break moments. Has this ever happened to you where you find yourself completely paralyzed by a tiny task, something that shouldn't matter, but suddenly feels impossible? It's not just the big deadlines or high-stakes meetings. It's the little things that can push you over the edge. Like the forgotten password that sets you into a panic. What if you get locked out and IT isn't available? Or the message from your boss that says, "Can we chat?" And that puts you into full catastrophizing mode. Or trying to figure out what to eat for dinner. Or the pile of laundry that greets you when you get home. It's not much, but the thought of folding it feels insurmountable. If any of these sound familiar, you're not alone. Chronic stress rewires your brain and your body, making even the smallest task feel like mountains to climb. And it's a cycle many lawyers, and especially women in law, know all too well. The lawyer stress cycle happens when our brains trigger our stress response too easily and too often, leaving our bodies flooded with cortisol and adrenaline for too long. And that chronic stress builds up over time. That's when the smallest challenges feel like they are going to break you. And that's when you know you're in burnout. Chronic stress in the body that we don't know how to stop or deal with is burnout. And the problem isn't you. I promise it's not you. It's how your brain is wired to detect threats. This lawyer stress cycle happens because of our fight or flight response. And that evolved to protect us from physical threats like predators. It also evolved to protect us from emotional threats, believe it or not, like social exclusion. Because think about it, when we were hunter-gatherers, we had to rely on each other to stay alive. So being excluded from the group was just like it was threatening our physical safety. But now, in the modern world we live in, our brains haven't caught up with the kind of environment that we face and the stressors that we face. It still thinks everything is a threat to our safety. And that leads to chronic stress. That chronic stress persists and compounds over time. And that's why those little things add up. So if you're wondering how much longer you can possibly go on like this, that is a good question to ask yourself. Because it's true that being in the lawyer stress cycle is not sustainable. Something is going to break, whether it's your job or your relationships or your body, but that doesn't have to be the case. You can exit the lawyer stress cycle without quitting your job or leaving the law. So let's talk about how the lawyer stress cycle starts and why we stay stuck in it. And then we can talk about how to get out of it. There are 3 factors that contribute to an overactive stress response. The first factor is hypervigilance. Our brains are wired to detect threats, and that's a trait that's been passed down through evolution to keep us alive. This hypervigilance was super beneficial to humans who faced a lot of physical danger. Today we don't face that physical danger. We're sitting in multi-story office buildings where the most physically threatening thing is getting on the elevator. Or we're sitting at desks in our home offices where the biggest threat to our physical safety is running out of coffee or tripping over the dog. But our brains are still wired like our ancestors, always on the lookout for threats. So an overflowing caseload might feel as life-threatening as being chased by a lion. Or having a micromanaging boss might feel like you're about to get kicked out of the group. Except instead of losing your spot by the fire, you're worried about losing your job. This hypervigilance comes from the oldest part of our brain, the amygdala. It doesn't care that you're overly stressed or overwhelmed or on edge. It doesn't care that you're miserable. It doesn't care about your happiness at all. Its only goal is to keep you alive, and it's doing that really, really well. So that's the first thing that contributes to an overactive response is our brains are wired for this hypervigilance. The second factor is our negativity bias. We focus more on negative experiences than positive ones, which can amplify our stress. Our brains are wired to pay more attention to what could go wrong rather than what's going right. And I don't need to tell you this. We lawyers are known for this. This is what we do. And I'll tell you firsthand that bringing that negativity bias into your personal life and even into your career beyond where it's really, truly needed is a ticket to burnout. This negativity bias, it gets reinforced into us in law school and then just continues to get reinforced throughout our legal careers if we don't manage it in our own brains. We're constantly scanning for problems that could happen in the future. That's part of what we do as lawyers. But the problem is we ignore all of the good things in front of us and how capable we are of responding to challenges. So that's the second factor, our negativity bias. The third factor that contributes to our overactive stress response is self-criticism. Our own thoughts about ourselves can be interpreted as threats. So as women, we are socialized to believe that we're not good enough and to criticize ourselves for not meeting society's impossible standards for women. So then our bodies tell us that it's not safe to experience this self-judgment, criticism, and rejection, or to feel that shame that results from those thoughts. Our brain is experiencing those thoughts and emotions as threats and telling your body that it's not safe, that you need to get away from those thoughts and emotions. And that triggers the stress response, and it continues to get triggered. So one of my clients and I were just talking about this the other day about how our self-criticism is something that we want to get away from. It feels like wanting to recoil from yourself because it's so painful to feel that. When I was in the thick of burnout, the way that I got away from myself and my relentless self-criticism was with Netflix and a pint of Ben & Jerry's. We all find ways to numb out when we want to avoid these negative feelings and don't know how to manage them. So that's the third factor that contributes to our overactive stress response, self-criticism. So let's recap. I shared 3 key factors that contribute to an overactive stress response. The first was hypervigilance, the second was the negativity bias, and the third was self-criticism. I'm noticing that hypervigilance and the negativity bias are both evolutionary traits, and the negativity bias is also socialized into us. And then self-criticism is a result of our socialization, that we're supposed to be perfect and there's something wrong with us when we reveal that we're not perfect, that we're human. So this is all just to say that none of this is your fault. And fortunately, you are not doomed to stay stuck in this lawyer stress cycle. You can turn down your stress response and regain control over your life. And you do that by teaching your brain and your body that you are safe. So I want to give you 3 ways to teach your brain that you are safe. And these aren't the only ways, but these are really good places to start. The first and easiest way to teach your brain that you are safe is to do something I call turn down the volume. It's super simple. And it's just turning down the volume to your stress response. So what you do is just find a quiet spot to sit by yourself for 1 or 2 minutes. This is a super short and easy exercise. And close your eyes and notice the sensations that are happening in your body in the moment. And notice if those sensations for you are your body being in fight, flight, or freeze. So fight might feel like anger, frustration, annoyance, like you just snapped at your kid or your colleague, even though you didn't want to or mean to. Flight might feel like wanting to run away or hide, just to get away. It's that recoiling feeling. Freeze might feel like overwhelm, not being able to do anything, just being paralyzed in the moment, so overwhelmed that you just can't figure out what to do next. So just notice if any of those sensations feel familiar. And if you are in that stress response, or is one of those kinds of stress responses, you just put your hand to your chest and ask your body to turn down the threat response and to ease off, to let go. Surprisingly enough, this really works. Because when you recognize that your body is in fight or flight, and then ask your body to turn that response down, it can be enough to just bring your stress levels down a bit. The second way to teach your brain that you are safe is to increase the number of positive thoughts that you have about yourself. You probably don't even realize how negatively you're talking to yourself. You've been socialized to believe that you're not good enough, that there's something wrong with you and that you need fixing. But none of that is true. So you can start noticing the positive thoughts about yourself and increase them daily. And that helps you shift that internal dialogue from criticism to support. I'm not asking you to make up positive thoughts that you don't believe. I'm just wanting you to notice the positive thoughts that you already have about yourself. And then notice and keep track of them so that you can use them intentionally. So if you start today and have one positive thought that you notice, and then increase that by one every day for the next 10 days, by the end of the 10 days, you'll have 10 positive thoughts to think about yourself, to remind yourself of, to practice thinking on purpose. And what an amazing result that would be. The third way to teach your brain that you are safe is to reinterpret the challenges that you are facing in your workplace, not as threats to your safety, but as manageable challenges. Remind yourself that you've managed these kinds of things before, probably countless times. And ask yourself, well, how do I want to react to this challenge this time? Who do I want to be in the face of this challenge this time? So this shift helps your brain remember that you are not powerless or helpless. A heavy workload, a lack of control, these are things that you've dealt with countless times before and can deal with again without stressing your body out. What's really important is the relationship that you have with yourself in the face of these challenges. Who are you being and how are you treating yourself when you face these challenges? So with these 3 super easy things that you can do, you can start to teach your brain that you are safe. So the first exercise was turn down the volume on your stress response. The second was noticing and increasing the positive thoughts that you have about yourself. And the third was reinterpreting the threats that you face at work as manageable challenges. So what I hope you take away today is that when you're in the lawyer stress cycle, your brain is triggering your stress response too easily and too often, but it's not your fault. It's primarily a result of evolution and socialization. But you're not powerless. You can exit the lawyer stress cycle without quitting your job by teaching your brain that you are safe. And when you teach your brain that you're safe, you're not just dialing down stress. You're fundamentally shifting how you show up in your life and career. You're unlocking a version of yourself that's more resilient and creative and productive. This isn't about sacrificing success for well-being. It's about achieving both simultaneously. If you want to hear more strategies about how to thrive as a lawyer without burning out, follow or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite app so that you can stay updated on new episodes and new insights. Share this podcast with other lawyers you know who could benefit from hearing it, whether they're dealing with chronic stress, feeling overwhelmed, or navigating burnout. By sharing, you'll help spread the word, help spread valuable information, and support your colleagues in their own journeys toward being happy, healthy lawyers. It's truly possible. That's it for now. Thanks for listening, and remember to be kind to yourself this week. I'll see you next week.